Okay. All right, Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. Who are you taking?
What? Okay, so I feel like we're in the minority on this because most mock drafts have the Bears not trading out of this pick, and me and you are very strong that they should trade out of this pick because of the value of Caleb Williams at going one almost guaranteed and what they can get in return. And we are kind of believers in Justin Fields, not necessarily like huge on him, but the fact that he has, he's still young, very athletic quarterback with a pretty not great supporting cast. So I'm personally right now, just because one has somewhat proven something in the NFL, is why I'm still kind of leaning Justin Fields. I think if you actually try to get a system around him that plays to his strengths, and it's like that for any quarterback really, but especially one that's a little bit more on the running side, almost like a Lamar Jackson, it would definitely help his game. I mean, their offensive line has been pretty bad for most of his career. Their playmakers haven't really existed for most of his career, and they kind of want to just dump and move along from him. And I don't think that's the best idea because you're just replacing Justin Fields with, I think, Caleb Williams has a more talented arm, but like he's in the exact same situation now. So right now, I don't know. I see value in keeping Justin Fields and trading out of that pick, and I see the ability to be able to build around him. The Bears weren't atrocious last year. They weren't good, but they were pretty bottom average team, if you can even say that. They weren't good though. They were like a 7-10 team. Um, but personally, like I'm sticking with Justin Fields.
And yeah, I agree. But the value, like we've had this conversation before. You could trade out and get 3 to 4 first round picks, or you could trade back. Which ideally, if I'm the Bears GM, if I'm Ryan Price, polls my
Price.
Price
You're
polls.
good, bro. Just keep
My
going.
apologies. But if I'm Ryan Poles, I'm trading back with the Patriots, giving them Caleb Williams. I'm probably getting a second rounder off of that, and then I'm taking Marvin Harrison to help out Justin Fields and fully commit to him and give him everything in free agency he needs: offensive line, weapons, a little bit of help on defense, and you have a stacked roster.
Yeah. I think the thing with the Patriots pick though, it's how big are they on Caleb Williams themselves? Because right now I don't know. I don't. It depends on how much they actually value Caleb Williams. Obviously, if they're going to trade from 3 to 1, if they're comfortable with their guy who can either be at this point Jaden Daniels, Drake May, for some reason JJ McCarthy. I think that's just John Harbaugh kind of inflating his stock a little bit. But it depends on how much the New England Patriots see. Like, does Caleb Williams really fit? And if that's really worth to give up that much, because like you brought it up, a second round, it's going to be a lot more than that. And I know you were just giving a quick
But it's
example, but
only
it's
two
going to be
picks. That's the problem.
it is only 2 picks, but like you said, it's the value of the player that you think you're getting, and that depends on really who it is. Like, okay, let's if you scroll down here, let's look at the Titans. Did the Titans really? They're not going to go after a quarterback, so no. The Falcons more so actually, if anything, it's like that they're going to give up. They're going to have to give up a lot to get to that pick, and that's a bigger jump from 8 to 1, obviously, and 3 to 1. But I don't know. Like I don't see a 2 or 3 straight up actually. I kind of don't. I feel like or not the Panthers, the Patriots are pretty set with possibly the idea of landing Drake May or Jaden Daniels, who I think both have ah that sounds so stupid because every young quarterback has so much potential, especially when you're an early first round pick. That's why you're being drafted. But like particularly Drake May because of the situation compared to, the other QBs around him. He wasn't on a stacked team. His team actually regressed from his junior to senior or from the 2022 to 2023 season. He didn't necessarily play he didn't play, but he actually played pretty good considering the circumstances. But I don't know. That's why I don't know. I don't see the Patriots giving up too much to go to 1. And it also depends on what the Bears want. Because if you're like you're saying, if they want to give up a whole bunch of stuff, or not, if the Patriots want to give up a whole bunch of stuff to get to 1, the Bears are obviously asking for a lot, and I don't see. It just depends on how much they're asking as well. So I don't know. I don't see the Patriots moving up for it, honestly.
Well, now here's the thing, though, right? We're talking about they trade out. Now, realistically, what is the value of Justin Fields? Because more than likely, it's looking
That's true.
Pittsburgh or Atlanta. So, what
hmm
is Justin Fields' value?
I say a lot. I think he's very valuable. What is he? He's still on his rookie contract, right? I could be totally dumb,
Going
but he's
in
still
last
like,
season,
is
I
he
believe.
going to? So it's the 5th year option. Was he? Is he was a yeah, right? 5th year option.
I think fourth year.
It's his 4th year. Okay, so
Yeah.
he's coming up on the end of it. So he's gonna get expensive fairly. He can get expensive fairly quickly, but you can also get him while he's cheap right now. So I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't know. One team that I'm kind of intrigued by because there is a scenario, in my opinion, where the Bears don't trade out and they don't take Caleb Williams. And you know where I'm going with this, and I see them taking Marvin Harrison, but it makes the pick number 4 for the Arizona Cardinals, in my opinion, very interesting because they also have a later draft pick, and it's pretty. I think it's pretty, agreed upon that they're going to go corner with their later draft pick if they decide to trade up into the round or anything. I don't think so, but they're probably gonna go corner, but it makes their pick number 4. It's like, do you if Marvin Harrison does go 1, which I think that is a possibility, but based off of every other mock draft, it seems very unlikely. What do you do at 4 if you're the Cardinals who need help, at edge, interior offensive line?
I don't know.
What would you do?
If you're the Cardinals, it's Marvin Harrison or bust. We hold a great like you said. If Marvin Harrison goes one, which I don't think it's gonna happen, it's kind of wild if it does. But if Marvin
Yeah,
Harrison goes number one, that means there's either Drake May or Jaden Daniels on the board. So we
that's true.
hold an amazing pick with a lot of value. And so teams like Minnesota might start calling, Pittsburgh, like I said,
Yeah,
like these
yeah,
teams
true,
might start
true.
calling in, asking about what you want, what can we give you, and I don't know. I think Arizona, like I said, it's boom or bust with Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because if Marvin Harrison isn't there no more at 4, or even if he is, actually no, if he is there at 4, the Cardinals aren't trading back. But if he isn't there at 4, that does bring up a good point. You're gonna see teams probably, like Atlanta, no, not New York, but Minnesota definitely, even Denver possibly, because this this is a pretty strong QB class. I think it's a little bit overhyped in my opinion. They're all, pretty solid players. That's not nothing against that, but it does bring up, like, do somebody trade up at 4 to pick another quarterback? Like, I don't know. I can't see four quarterbacks going like in the top like 6 picks, honestly.
I don't know,
Considering that the Chargers exist and the Cardinals exist, who aren't looking for a quarterback.
but still, I think no matter what, I think the first three picks are quarterbacks, and it
Really?
would be completely surprising to me if Marvin Harrison slips into the first three. But I don't know, something about it. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. I feel like those are just instant must-haves for all three of those teams. They're all QB needy, and they're all trying to rebuild.
I mean, yeah, yeah, true. And my thing is we haven't really talked. We've actually glossed over them. Is with Washington. I mean, this is my thing. Sam Howell had a very interesting year last year. It started off I mean, I wouldn't say it started off strong.
He
It
was thrown
definitely
to the
started off
trenches.
better. Yeah, it was definitely better in the beginning than when it ended. Like, benching him towards the end of the year, and I don't want to kick Sam Howell as quickly as the organization obviously wants to. They seem like they're pretty content on moving on. But if the new group, the new coaching group, I'm totally blanking on his name, but I see the image. He was the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator.
Dan
What was his
Quinn.
name? Gosh, hard brain fart. But Dan Quinn, if his resume, his squad is, if they're high on Sam Howell, do you see Washington possibly taking an edge at 2? Which
Mm,
I don't think so.
I don't think.
Or maybe hard invest if they're gonna stick with Howell, that means they're hard investing in him, obviously. You're gonna go probably with offensive line. I mean, their whole offensive line was pretty atrocious. They could use a rework. So, what do you think they do with that
I don't
pick if
know.
they don't go quarterback?
Because I don't get me wrong, I think Sam Howell does deserve a chance, and they'll probably just use him as either trade value or just someone to compete with in training camp. But there's just no way Washington doesn't take a quarterback. I think
Hmm.
Sam Howell was they gave him the season, and they just clearly did not like what he had, and so I think it's their time for them to move on. But also, like you said, if they didn't go it and they decide maybe we can wait till like second round, maybe a JJ McCarthy or someone in those later
Yeah,
rounds because it is a
man, I don't know.
stacked class, you
Yeah.
might be able to take offensive line here, something that is kind of
hmm
needed over there.
I agree. I agree. I don't think it's likely though, like you said. And it sounds crazy. Like to me, the Bears pick, I just don't see them taking Caleb Williams, even though everybody else does. I must be stupid, which I probably am, but like it it doesn't make sense to me for the Bears when you can definitely build around a young quarterback who has like I would say, oh no, Caleb Williams' ceiling is like he has so
I
much potential.
no, I think
I
I think Caleb Williams is a bust. The way he carries
oh
himself compared to all these other quarterbacks, I mean, look at Drake May and compare him to Caleb Williams. That's
yeah, but sorry, you go.
come on, that's both top three quarterbacks, right? Top three picks.
Mhm.
The difference in where they carry themselves, and I get Caleb Williams is considered the best, but Drake May carries himself at a way higher level, and Caleb Williams, all I see is when he steps into a locker room, he's just gonna start problems, and he's just gonna make things tough on the business end and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Based off of like, on an outward appearance, because all of these sites like to report everything from like happening inside the locker room or what's being said. With Caleb Williams, what's interesting is okay, so kind of like back in the 2004 draft, I believe it was when it was Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Philip Rivers, like those three were the big ones. Eli Manning was very publicly against being drafted by the Chargers to the point to where when the Chargers drafted him, they traded him immediately to the Giants for Philip Rivers, right? You already have Caleb Williams on record, like, or not on record, I shouldn't say that. This is like a rumor that these sites put out, but
Well,
it was a pretty well ran through story
I
that
think
he wants like
I
ownership and stuff like that,
yeah,
or like
I
he
don't know.
doesn't want to be drafted. That's lame. Like that's the part that if it is true, like that's lame. And me personally, like I said, that's making me trade out or just not pick him at one.
Well, yesterday or I believe 2 days ago, uh, it came out that he said he will play if he is drafted, but it still
For the
seemed a
Bears.
little fake. I don't think
Wait,
he
for the
wants
Bears?
Chicago.
No. I don't, well, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you look at these top three teams, the ones who have like the highest chance, and I guess you can include Minnesota and Atlanta in there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but Chicago isn't the worst scenario. It just doesn't have a good supporting cast, so I guess that's a pretty bad scenario. But they're all pretty bad scenarios, honestly.
No, Chicago is easily the best here. You're coming off a
No,
seven
yeah, I
win
agree.
season
I
with
agree.
the first round pick. There's so much to build
Yeah,
off there.
yeah, and then Chicago also has nine, right? They have nine or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, they do
they have
have
nine.
nine. Wow, they have a lot of leverage, which is why I don't understand why you wouldn't use all that leverage like to get as much as you can out of that pick and out of somebody willing to give up everything to get Caleb Williams. I can see minute. I mean, whole my wait, Justin Jefferson's a free agent, right?
No, Justin Jefferson's contract year.
Contract year. Okay. Wow. Do you think you see a scenario where, because right now it's pretty unknown if he's going to the Vikings, right? Or not, if he's going to remain with the
Well,
Vikings?
he came out and said it does depend on quarterback. So he's kind of pushing
Okay.
for Kirk to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you see a scenario where Minnesota makes a huge move up to one that might include Justin Jefferson?
I think
Or no?
they're
Is
in
that
this
even
first
possible?
round. Just Minnesota moving up in general is huge and very likely to happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised either if just anything 1 through 4 had Minnesota's name on it. But I think
Really?
first,
Ooh.
if they really want Caleb Williams, I think they could do it. And so like a first and Justin Jefferson, because that's 3, 4 first round picks, like I mentioned earlier. So you have to give them at least one. Your probably your pick that day
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Jefferson. But it depends how high you value Justin Jefferson.
True. And I value him. I mean, he was one of the best receivers last year, even
Yeah.
after missing
He
like
got hurt and
multiple weeks.
what he
He
played
was
like
still a
eight
1,000 yard
games
receiver.
and
Yeah, he was still
thousand
a thousand
yards.
yard receiver. Yeah, he had a great year last year and he missed so much time. But we mentioned it earlier with the Cardinals pick, saying how that one's interesting depending on it really just depends on what happens with Marvin Harrison.
Hmm.
And if a team for some reason would jump up I mean, I don't see Washington or New England trading back, but if a team was to somehow jump up there and take him, I don't see it happening. But if Marvin Harrison's off the board at 4, and you said it yourself as a you obviously cover the Cardinals, you don't like neighbors as much, and as at that pick particularly, correct? Right?
Yeah, I think if
Okay.
it's Marvin Harrison or bust, because free agency, I think there's a lot more we can work with than going neighbors.
Okay. Do you see a scenario then? Okay, so then if they're not comfortable, if like I said, if Harrison's not there, Minnesota trades up and gets at 4, and who do they take there? Because by that point, you're assuming that the top 3 quarterbacks are off the board. Do you
Well,
go like
I think at
Penix?
mm,
Like, I
well
don't know. I
in
don't
this
think that's
situation,
necessarily a
because
value at
Marvin
that pick.
Harrison is going to the Cardinals unless he's not there. And so in this
Hmm.
situation, we're assuming the Bears take Marvin Harrison. So
Exactly.
at this point, could the Cardinals try to be like try to wager to get Justin Jefferson because they couldn't get their receiver? Because we're talking about your
Oh, yeah,
franchise's,
yeah,
we're talking
yeah,
about your future
yeah,
here, and he said he don't
yeah.
know what he wants to do if he wants to come back or not. And so if you don't make that
Depends
choice
whether,
in
yeah.
free agency,
And mhm.
that
Yeah, I
that
totally
offer's
agree.
there.
Yeah, because then and then I'm assuming he would be very willing to like want to play with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's a very solid quarterback. Um, you know, going from Kirk Cousins to going to Kyler Murray, I would say I would personally say it's an upgrade. I like Kirk Cousins a lot, though. I think Kirk Cousins is still a very good quarterback, but
Definitely a
I
big
mean,
difference.
yeah, exactly, different type of play style, but still great quarterback. I don't know. Another team that we've kind of avoided because I don't know, they have a lot of hype around them right now, and I'm a fan of them. So it doesn't, and it happens every year, so I'm used to it. And then they're always the offseason champions. If there was a Super Bowl for the offseason, the Chargers are always the winners. They always have all the hype. But the Chargers at 5 have also like pretty. It depends on what they do with obviously their cap situation, but they have a lot of leverage as well if they really wanted to move around. But I don't see them moving around. I actually see them sticking here and probably taking Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Brock Bowers
I don't.
is I think it's the obvious pick here. You need a tight
Yeah.
end, give Herbert some weapons,
Yep,
but
I agree.
maybe there is a situation you trade back only a couple of spots, knowing that you can either
Yeah,
get Neighbors or Bowers still.
Bowers. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And like, okay, so their biggest needs, cornerback, and if it depends, like I said, what they do with this offseason with their big cap hitters. So Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, you're gonna need edge. And they got a nice player last year. Thule. I can't say his last name, bro. I'm not gonna even try. But if you're a Chargers fan, you probably know who he is. He was a pretty solid player last year. So you have, some building blocks, but it's really that front four, it's kind of weak if especially if you get rid of Mack and Bosa, which I'm actually a fan of getting rid of Bosa. I just think at this point with his time with the Chargers, it started off very strong, but the second this Brandon Staley era kind of came in, he kind of started regressing, and also injuries don't help. He's been injured a lot, and he costs a lot of money. So I don't know. Maybe you can even go edge if you were to
Well,
trade back, and if Brock Bowers would get picked up before then.
I don't know. I think the thing is here that you guys are, I believe you're almost negative in salary cap. So
No, they definitely are
yeah,
negative. I think it's like
it
negative
really
40
is
something
what
million.
you unload. Because Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, so
Those are,
you're unloading all
yeah.
these guys. So it's opening up even more holes into your team. So it's what do you actually need after making all these moves? And so I
I mean,
still think Brock Bowers is a clear pick. But if you have like a perfect opportunity, like I said, trade back a little and maybe that lineman's still there that can help fix that front four.
yeah. I don't know. The way we're kind of doing this, like, and we're trying to be a little bit different here, just because all the mock drafts all typically follow the same pattern of 1, 2, 3 quarterback, 4, you know, Harrison, 5 Bowers. We're trying to play around a little bit with some scenarios, but I genuinely think number 4 and number 5 for me are probably like the most guaranteed picks, because I think Arizona probably gets Harrison almost no matter what, even though I think it would be cool if the Bears got him. I think that would help out a lot, but I don't think they will. But I think 4 and 5 are pretty solidified. I actually don't see. I mean, I see the scenario where the Cardinals trade back, but I don't see much for the Chargers to want to do that.
I
I
don't know. The
think
right
they need a
call,
tight
the
end.
right price, anything can happen.
I mean, yeah, it's just that's if a team values Brock Bowers that much, or who would they even like, who would trade up to five to get what? Unless if a team
There's
really values Brock Bowers like that,
what's
or Malik
what's
Neighbors.
that offensive lineman? He's like it was talks
Oh,
Cardinals might take him at 4. I don't know, but
I
he's
do
like
not know.
he's a tackle and he's like clearly the best.
Is he a? Oh, I don't want to be completely off, but is it a an Alabama or a Georgia? Is it
Aren't
a
they
Georgia
all
ta
Alabama or
Yeah, I
Georgia
was about to say I'm
tackles?
pretty.
Let's be
That's a
real.
pretty safe like guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I don't know the lineman, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like, and that's another thing. I mean, maybe we're just missing it, but a lot of offensive linemen really haven't been brought up like super early into the draft. When I feel like a lot of teams really like get a lot better if they get a sol. I mean, every team gets a lot better, obviously, but like certain teams have a big jump. Like the Cardinals have a big jump. The Chargers absolutely have a big jump, and even same with Washington, and even Chicago. So, and I don't. I'm interested to see where the first offensive lineman goes because it doesn't seem as of right now it's going to be top five. It's probably going to be six to New York, but or maybe even seven to Tennessee.
Well,
But
what I'm
still,
curious is because like I don't know. I think New York might take a weapon, might go receiver, but Tennessee is
yeah,
very interesting to me. Because are you
yeah,
gonna stick with Will Levis, which I think
yeah,
they should? He
yeah,
deserves a second
absolutely.
year. But what do they do? That's kind of I think that's the offensive line spot.
Oh, well, actually, at seven as well, Derrick Henry's most likely not coming back, right?
Oh,
Like
he's
that's
gone.
pretty.
He's gone.
He's gone. We think he's most likely gone. I mean, and they're gonna need a running back. Unless if you go after, it's a pretty solid free agent running back class. It's actually a very good one, but and you can get running back at any point. But do you do what, the Lions, the Falcons did at this pretty similar spot around like what was it, pick like 7 to 12, I think it was. They drafted pretty highly on running back, and they both got pretty good ones. Bijan was a very safe one, but Jameer Gibbs, I mean, that dude was from like the midway point of the season on, like the premier running back in Detroit, and very much elevated their overall game plan. It helps when you have a two running back system, but he very much added a lot. Do you see Tennessee kind of going in that direction to maybe help take the pressure off Will Levis? He's still young, still in a rebuilding team that doesn't necessarily have a lot of talent, has talent, but isn't, the best situation for a young quarterback. I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if they go seven here. I just don't know what running back they pick up.
I don't think they go. I don't. I'm not sure if a running back's gonna go in the first round entirely.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
that.
I
I'm
think
trying
a
to.
lot of them are gonna slip just due to the amount of quarterbacks that are gonna be taken. And so the Tennessee does hold the 38th overall pick in the second round. So I think
Blake Corum, I'm telling you,
that's a
it's gonna be
prime
Blake
position
Corum.
to take a
Maybe I'm
running back.
overvaluing him though.
But I don't
I
know.
mean, yeah,
I think if you're Tennessee, you're taking receiver or offensive line.
yeah. Actually, I mean, okay, so I'm actually looking at the Sports Illustrated one right now. They have, they actually have Okay, so they have Marvin Harrison going forward to the Cardinals. Pretty solid. But then they have the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors,
Which,
which I find
I mean,
interesting.
you've said it yourself. I forget the receivers. Quentin Johnson, is that who it is? Is that his
Yeah,
name?
Quentin John. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on Quentin Johnson,
Well,
bro.
you guys need receivers, okay? And I still
Yeah, and
think,
if Keenan Allen or Mike Williams is gone, it's gonna be even worse.
yeah. So you need someone to come fill Keenan Allen or Mike Williams' hole. Get a rookie in there and still give Quentin
Oh,
Johnson some time to, maybe build up his career and not just let it go down the
I'm
drain.
not, dude. So I'm a huge proponent. We've talked about this before as well, of like letting players develop and actually letting them get the chance. The most recent, like, success story of this, and it's granted it was a little bit differently, but is Jordan Love with the Packers. They didn't rush him in there, and also that has to do with Aaron Rodgers, and his contract, and also just having Aaron Rodgers in general. But now look, he had a pretty dang solid year and looks like have like a very bright future. Probably one of the better, like he's not super young now. He's like in his mid 20s. He's still young though. Like one of the better up and coming quarterbacks for sure. I'm a huge proponent of letting, players develop. Quentin Johnson. Okay. My thing with him is a lot of the I mean, it's like almost everything that a receiver needs to have. He has like some sort of like I don't know if it's like a mentality thing, but like okay, for example, route running. He the random giving up on routes where he just slows down and Herbert would throw the ball expecting him to be there, and guess what? He's just not there. He's not running the route. He gives up halfway through it. That to me is like something that has to be like ingrained in him with the new coaching staff. Like, hey, bro, you've got to finish your
Well, it's
routes.
Jim Harbaugh. That's not going to be allowed
Exactly,
whatsoever.
exactly. And I
He'll
don't
grab
see
you by the
Harbaugh,
face mask.
bro. I don't see Harbaugh being like, exactly a big fan of Quentin Johnson. I'm not gonna lie. I don't see any team being a fan of Quentin Johnson. He has size. He has athleticism. They're all athletic. They're in the NFL, but for his size, his athleticism's pretty. It's what kind of pushed him up in the draft last year. Um, but also his hands, obviously. His hands are the big one. His hands are the one that he gets memed on for the most, probably, I would say. I mean, the Packers game last year, that dude had a game winner possibly in his hands and just, I mean, just dropped it. It was such a bad drop. It's a crunch time situation, kind of stressful, but still, like you're an NFL player, you get paid a lot of money to do that. You got to do that. You've got to catch the ball, especially when it's wide open. That doesn't even include his contested catching or like his, catch in traffic, if you want to call it. It's more like the Madden term. But like, his contested catching, which wasn't exactly there. He's not like Mike Williams. He was supposed to be kind of like Mike Williams, not as much. Mike Williams is definitely more of a 50-50 guy, but he couldn't do that at the highest level. And his route running wasn't exactly, spectacular either. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised based off of everything I just listed myself if the Chargers do end up taking receiver here. But I think Brock Bowers is just, they haven't really had the solid tight end since Hunter Henry. They've had decent ones like, Gerald Everett, Donald Parham and all that. They're solid, serviceable if you want to put it. But I think you get a guy like Brock Bowers that's, he has everything that you would really want. So I think it'd be a good pickup personally over Neighbors or even the Washington receiver, Adunze. Yeah, I think it's definitely better than that.
I still think if you're the Chargers, you have the new regime coming in. You got a hardball coach coming in, someone who's like ready to play hard football.
Yeah,
You got to let Quinn Johnson develop in that system, and I think he's gonna have a big jump, especially with actually having Herbert this year. And I don't know.
yeah.
I think
I mean, he had Herbert last year though, and
yeah,
it
but he
didn't.
didn't have him the full year. I think you get a
No, he
full
didn't.
offseason to develop with him. You get the actual season with the whole new regime. I think Quentin Johnson can be a guy there, and so that I do agree. I think you
I
go
don't know,
Brock
man.
Bowers.
Yeah, I agree there. I agree going Brock Bowers, and I believe the offensive tackle that we were mentioning was Joe Alt, right? Joe Alt.
No, I'm still thinking of another
No,
guy. I'm not sure
well,
who.
he's a Notre Dame guy, but they actually have him going to Tennessee, which I can see Tennessee absolutely taking, like I said, a lineman,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
also a running back.
I
It
was
wouldn't
thinking.
surprise me.
Oh God, I was thinking of the Penn State offensive lineman
Oh, yeah, I
Olu
can't say his name. Yeah,
Fashana.
Olu for
I
sure,
don't. I
for
can't.
Shaunu.
Why do we even try to pronounce names?
I don't
What's the
know.
point?
Okay, here's an interesting scenario. Again, looking at Sports Illustrated, I really don't agree with some of their picks
Yeah,
that
I'm
they
not
have in
gonna
this
lie.
mock
This mock
draft.
draft's a little. It's a little shaky.
Yeah, are you looking at 11 at
Let me see.
Minnesota? Look who they have JJ McCarthy
Okay, that's
going.
just completely
And oh my
unrealistic.
goodness, I didn't even see the next pick. They have Bo Nix going to the Denver Broncos, which actually, I don't know. Again, this is a very high valued quarterback class.
That's
Even though some of the guys who would probably go like in the second or third round most years, it's I don't know.
and here's the thing. Uh, they think five quarterbacks in the top 15. That's kind of wild. I think
And they have Brock Bowers going 15.
yeah,
That's even more wild.
it's a little ridiculous, but I think Bo Nix, if he somehow falls to the second round, teams need to start calling for that pick. Bo Nix is probably the most slept on quarterback in this draft. And I think he
Really?
has a lot of potential and is probably a day one starter. If
Really?
Unless you want to sit him behind someone, but I think he's someone who can come in and genuinely start day one.
I think the best scenario right now for any rookie quarterback is Minnesota or possibly Denver, depending on what they do with Russell Wilson. But I think Minnesota, because you're gonna get Kirk Cousins on the end of his career, right? So you're gonna get like maybe what
Well, no,
you
that's if they
assume
decide to bring
exactly.
Kirk
That's if
back.
they even decide to bring Kirk Cousins back. But I still think Minnesota's the best because you have the playmakers. You have Actually, I can't speak on their defense. I'm not going to speak on their defense. I don't know for sure, but I know on the offensive side, you have the potential to be a very like a easy top 10 offense, possibly even top five. I mean, especially if you keep Justin Jefferson. Um, if you keep Kirk Cousins, I sign him for a 1 or 2 year contract. Kind of like the Geno Smith contract from last year,
Hmm.
and I'm drafting, like you said, a Bo Nix, maybe I don't man JJ McCarthy to me solid quarterback, very solid. Like I don't know if you spend a very high first round pick on someone who was just solid in college,
I don't know.
but has proven to get it done. So maybe.
I don't know. I think if you're Minnesota and nothing opens up, so you can trade up in that top five, I think you honestly just take a lineman, take whatever your biggest need is really, and I think second round or late first round you work up a trade up because you're gonna have obviously someone who's falling. It's gonna be McCarthy. It's gonna be Nix.
Penix.
Someone Penix is gonna be slept on too. You're gonna have someone that's available, and
Everyone's stuff dumb.
really there is so many quarterbacks here, but there's gonna be so much opportunity for you to trade up, trade back in, do what you want to do, and so I think you take your biggest need and then you play your cards and go ahead and jump back in.
All right, here's a fun one. I don't know how to say his last name for sure. Again, I don't want to butcher it, but Cooper DeJean, is that how you say it? Cooper DeJean,
Yeah,
DeJean,
Dejean, something like that.
DeJean. This
He's a
this is
future
the
Arizona
this is
Cardinal.
yeah. I actually think he's probably gonna go to the Cardinals as well. Maybe even the Packers, who was a little bit before the Cardinals a few picks. But this one's funny. This is just
I mean,
not funny.
he's
He's
a white
obviously a
corner.
great player. Exactly. It's just the
I want
stereotype,
him.
the white corner stereotype. No, yeah, he's a stupid athlete. He played for that Iowa defense, which is notoriously that Iowa team's funny. That's a funny team. No offense, all defense. But no, he's an athlete. Like that dude's athletic. I
And
don't know. I think
you know
he's one of the most versatile players in the whole entire draft.
he is, and he said he'd like to experiment playing anything in the backfield. So go ahead and put him
Yeah,
at safety
back
and
end
stuff.
safety.
But he
Hmm.
also did say he admires a lot of Buda Baker's game, and so bring him in.
But Buda Baker's still with Arizona, correct?
Yeah,
Or
he's
am I
gonna be on
tripping?
his last year.
So okay, so maybe you get yeah that would be a good scenario for him as well. Learn under someone who's proven as well. Another funny, just again funny draft pick, not funny draft pick, but funny. It's kind of messed up. But Kool-Aid McKinstry, who they actually in this mock draft they have going to Arizona.
Yeah.
Um,
I think corner, like you said, we addressed it. Corner is going to be the Cardinals' second round pick, our second first pick,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
and I don't know. It's either we get the white corner that can ball, which is crazy to say, or we get Kool Aid. I think it's
Get
both
Kool-Aid.
it's both a win really, but I
Yeah, I
think
agree. I agree.
yeah
I
I think
think
I
Cooper
want
DeJean is
Cooper.
definitely the better
Yeah.
pick in my opinion. Yeah, Cooper and I don't know the versatility of being able to play in the slot and like you said, willing to experience back in like in the backfield secondary,
Hmm.
especially when you have someone like Buda Baker who, if hopefully willing, doesn't like flake on the Cardinals, which I don't think he will, but like
No, I think there's
he,
a lot of talks with the Cardinals maybe trading him out, which I think it's completely stupid. You don't trade out the heart of your team, and that's exactly what Buda Baker is. He is the heart of the
yeah
Arizona Cardinals, and
yeah
you
I
gotta
would try
keep
to
him
keep him
around. Yeah,
personally. I'm personally
I
trying to
don't
keep
care
him.
how much we're paying him, like 14 million right now. I'd give him
They're paying
15.
him
I'd give him
14.
16. I'd give him a raise. Whatever we need to do to
I
keep him
give him
here.
a raise. Yeah, no, he's solid, and especially like you said, if you get anytime you get a young player that can learn under someone who is proven, I think it instantly. It's not a hot take. It's not rocket science, but it instantly bolsters their potential and their potential to reach the ceiling. I guess if that makes any sense, it's almost like the potential to reach the potential, kind of. It gives them the opportunity to really shine and be their best selves early on in their careers too.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that's the move for a lot of these teams. Let players develop. Like I said, even though I was totally hating being hypocritical on Quentin Johnson, saying give up on him already. But for the most part, yeah, I definitely think it's a good idea to let players develop and learn behind someone who's a proven vet, or even just proven in general and has been in the scheme. I don't know. That's my thoughts on that, though.
And yeah,
Okay.
I do hope Deshaun does come to Arizona. I think it's a great
Whoa,
value pick.
yo,
Resume. Anyways, I
ain't no
I think
way.
he's got to be the pick for us. Like I said, or Kool Aid, but I think all signs point
Kool-Aid.
to Cooper DeJean.
Yeah. All right. So all this draft talk, kind of, and free agency a little bit, kind of leads into this topic. Based off of this, what we're projecting to happen this offseason, who do you think has the highest rise?
It.
That's actually an easy
Hmm,
answer for me.
I don't know. I think my three are Chargers, Cardinals, and Atlanta. Because if Atlanta does get Justin Fields,
Yeah.
I think they are in a great position. Have Fields and Bijan, and you still got weapons in Pitts and Drake London. I
Hmm.
think you're in a great spot, and you can easily, yeah, have a solid 9, 10, 10 win season with a very weak division.
Yeah. And I actually have the exact same group as you, but just to be a little bit different, I guess we can touch on, or nah, I was gonna say Chicago, but then I thought about it. They were already a 7-win team, so their rise to be like the highest rise would have to be a very, very good year. And I don't see them. I guess Atlanta was also a 7-win team though. I don't know,
Yeah,
but yes, I agree with you. I agree with definitely with Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be a potential. They're in a very strong division, which kind of hurts their chances. But I could see them being like the third best team in their division and still being the seventh seed. Honestly, I could see them sneaking in this year. It really just depends on, I guess, Kyler Murray's health, obviously for one, and how their off season goes.
well,
But
yeah, I think we're gonna address a lot in the draft and in free
yeah,
agency.
secondary
But
being one of them, I can see
yes,
Cardinals being a very legit team, like a very
absolutely.
solid 10-7 team, honestly.
But when Kyler Murray came back for those last 5 games, the Cardinals were performing at a top 10 offense,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
we
mhm.
gave him weapons and protection. I think sky's the limit.
Yeah. And then obviously with the Chargers, their thing again, off-season hype, and as a Chargers fan, it's kind of annoying, but then I also give into it. But I mean, there's no excuses anymore. You cannot have an excuse. Jim Harbaugh is not an idiot. You have a proven head coach, one of the best, the highest prospect head coach this offseason. You got him. You have his whole staff. He chose everything. You have a new offensive coordinator. I believe it's Greg Roman coming over from Baltimore. You bring in the rest of Harbaugh's staff. There is no excuses at this point. Honestly, I think the Chargers could have the highest rise even without a super overhaul this offseason because they're probably going to actually end up losing a lot of players more than they are going to be gaining just because of the contract situation itself. I don't see them going after Austin Eckler again, which honestly I don't hate either. This is my thing. I bring it up, but Blake Corum, if he's available later in the draft at any point, like second round, third round, I don't know how much these teams really value running back, but if he's available around there, please take him. Um, but I could see them having a really big rise without really having to address too much.
Well, yeah, but also the biggest thing here is you're in the AFC. That is
True.
that's not easy.
Yeah.
What was it
Oh
like?
yeah.
There was like 9 teams that had like 10 wins, and only 7 make playoffs.
Who was the other? Oh, was it was Indianapolis and would it be Jacksonville? They were 9-win teams, I think, but they were like I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like I mean, these teams, like the whole AFC was good last year. For some reason, they all balled out,
Yeah, the AFC was a
and
pretty
so it's
solid.
not
The
going to be
AFC's always
easy
been
no matter who you're facing. And so you got to compete with that. So I think the Chargers are really they're gonna have like a solid 8, 9 win season, and then really take that second year
really
leap with John Harbaugh, and finally
now.
full uh full speed ahead into the second year
I'm
into a playoff.
I'm really biased on this because I actually I don't see them only taking like I think they're also going to be a playoff team this year. I don't think they're going to win their division because it's the Chargers have not proven to win the games that like really matter. Like even the year they were good, like I believe it was 2018, that the recent year. They couldn't win the game that mattered to get them the first seed. They beat the Chiefs actually. That was like huge. They haven't really done crap against them ever since then. But I don't see them winning the division. But I can see the Chargers being like an 11-6 team. And I think actually, well, I don't know how good the Chiefs are going to be this year, but again, people always doubt them. They're always good. So maybe keep the Chiefs at 1, but I could see them being like a 10-7, 11-6 team and really making a run in the playoffs, honestly.
I don't know. That division's so interesting. I mean,
It
Raiders,
is.
Broncos, like,
So I feel anybody in that division can be very good.
yeah.
Anybody. Realistically, anybody in that division should have a chance to win a division, but it's until proven otherwise, I'm always gonna go with the Chiefs in that
I
division.
mean, realistically, that whole division should be going to the playoffs. I think
Uh,
all of
I
them.
mean, yeah,
Denver is really,
Denver.
really stupid for what they're doing to Russell Wilson right now.
I agree. I agree. Denver was legitimately in the playoff race when they benched him
Yeah,
for
they
money
if they
reasons.
didn't bench him, they probably would have made the seventh seed. But
Who made the 7th seed
was
in
it
the
was it Browns or was it Texans?
No, Browns won their no, it wasn't or not they didn't win their
Was it
divisions.
Houston?
Holy crap, man, it might have been. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
who
think
we're
it was
blanking
Houston.
on.
Yeah, because
No, Houston, remember
Houston and Colts
Houston won a division.
they had the
Houston won
game.
a division.
Did they
Houston
really?
won their Yeah, Houston won the division. They that's why they had the home playoff game and they played the Browns. It might have actually
Was it the
Okay, who
Browns?
played the Bills in the first round? Who played the Bills in the
Oh,
first round?
Steelers.
Steelers. They're
Yeah.
wow, we're stupid. Forgot about them. How do they always sneak their way, bro?
Bro, Mike Tomlinson goes 50 over 50 every year. It's amazing.
No, that is actually that is pretty crazy, especially because a lot of those teams, not a lot, but the recent ones have been pretty bad. So to get them over 500,
I
that is
mean,
quite
also,
impressive.
I mean, put Justin Fields in that offense.
Yeah,
That's a team that can actually maybe do something in the playoffs.
I was just about to bring that up actually because we mentioned it a little bit, but Justin Fields possibly it's looking like Atlanta or Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would be interesting because I think he would actually be pretty good in Pittsburgh, but they have Arthur Smith calling plays now, so maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Arthur Smith's probably a better coordinator than he is a head coach. That's how it goes for a lot of these coordinators that don't work out. I mean,
I don't
Brandon
know.
Staley,
He
for
he did
example.
not use Bijan Robinson, so I'm not sure if he's really a good coordinator.
But he didn't use anybody. Everybody was a decoy in his system. It was all get the ball to Jonnu Smith.
For real.
Get the feed Jonnu. That's what it all was. No, but yeah, I think Justin Fields and Steelers would be very interesting.
And
All right.
just to throw this out there though, I
Yeah.
know Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but the Jets could be on a huge rise.
No. Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say they're gonna go after Justin Fields. I was about to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I
not
think
Cook. Oh,
healthy
go
Aaron
ahead.
Rodgers, got a lot of young weapons, young talent. I think that's definitely a team that can compete.
Yeah, I agree. All right. What is your now on the opposite spectrum? I have mine. I think we agree on this as well. But what is your lowest fall team? Like, who do you think? Who do you,
Probably Philadelphia.
I agree. Yeah,
I don't
and
know. Well, Tampa Bay too, because I think
really,
Mike Evans kind of depends on what Tampa Bay does. Because Baker Mayfield, he's gonna go back, but if they don't bring back Mike Evans, they need someone to fill that huge hole Mike Evans will leave if he does leave.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think Tampa Bay will probably not hinder. That's not the right word, but linger around the 8-9, 9-8, maybe at the best a 10-win season
which is
because they
which is a division winner for that.
exactly with the division. Yep, yep. Unless, like we said, unless Atlanta has a huge rise, which they could, but yeah, that is a division winner. Is the 9-win team in that division. My lowest fall was the Eagles, but I thought about it, and I don't see them really. I mean, probably I think the worst they're gonna go is like 8-9. Honestly,
Yeah,
I don't think
I
they're gonna go any
agree.
worse than that. And that's not that big of a fall if we really think about it. They were only 11 win. Not I don't say they were an 11-win team, which is good. But when you consider it, they started what was it like 9-0 or something like that, 10-1, something along those lines. They started off very hot and then lost like 6 games
I
or
don't know.
5 games out of the
They have
last
to
six.
unload a lot too because a lot of their players are in free agency now, which if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 20 to 25 of their players of their
Holy
starters.
crap!
Yeah,
What?
and also
That
Jason
is a
Kelsey.
lot.
That's a big piece. That's if he does retire,
Yeah. Wait, did he not retire? I thought he did.
it's it's floating in the air. I think it's just hurting him a little too much to say it. Which if you've been in the NFL for like 15 years, it's gonna be hard to say it.
Oh. I thought bro did retire. Honestly, I thought that's what all
It's
those posts
it's
were
a it's
about.
officially unofficial at the moment.
Okay, so he's most likely not. Okay, so we're assuming he's most likely not playing this
Yeah,
year.
he's
More than
most
likely.
likely done.
All right, so that is a huge piece. Then if you're Philadelphia, maybe you address that in this draft. I don't know. I mean, that would make the most sense to me. But yeah, they're losing a lot. And then also just the fact that that team really kind of fell apart. It doesn't seem like Nick Sirianni's exactly loved. I'm not talking about the team, but just as a whole,
Oh
whenever
yeah, I
you,
know. Philadelphia was calling for his head on a stake last year.
yeah, it didn't seem like he was exactly like when that team started kind of, falling, not falling apart. Well, yeah, you could say falling apart. They did fall apart. It was mostly put on him. They had that whole situation with like the security guard, and that really just kind of reflected more so on the staff, I guess, because then you have Sirianni coming out saying, "Well, I can't like act mentally," or this is paraphrasing along the lines of, "I can't like mentally be me without him there." Like it was like I couldn't stay calm or something like that. Like
I don't know.
that's
That whole
I don't know if
situation
you.
was kind of funny because
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
yeah, why you need like your security manager right next to the head coach?
But
Interesting.
also just to be calm. I don't know. Doesn't make much sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. Philadelphia, I could see Philadelphia going 8-9 and then also going like 12-5.
I just think Philadelphia is kind of an ungrateful city right now, just because
Mhm.
everything Nick Sirianni has brought to them, and the position he's going to be in this year is probably the worst in all of his
Okay.
seasons. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, I think they're just gonna want him out immediately after this year, and to be honest, it'll probably happen. But I think
Maybe.
they're being really unfair to him, and he deserves
I
a little more
mean,
credit.
certain cities and Philadelphia is like the New York and it's like I mean, if you want to, oh, like the Ohio State, stuff like that where you have a expectation of no matter what, you win. Um, I mean, they moved on from Doug Peterson pretty quickly after he won a Super Bowl a few years prior, and that team wasn't the same when they won the Super Bowl. They lost a lot of the, key
Well,
personnel, key
also
players,
Carson
and they
Wentz
moved
had a
on from
big fall
him.
off.
And Carson Wentz didn't exactly improve. He actually just got worse since his injury. But kind of actually completely switching teams here. There's two teams that I'm intrigued by, and I think everybody is by the Lions and also the Ravens. And I could see both of them possibly having the biggest fall. The Ravens were the number one in the AFC, so I could definitely see them having the biggest fall. They could still be a playoff team, but I could see them being like a 7 seed, honestly. And Detroit is in a pretty tough division. You're gonna have Minnesota coming out with someone new at quarterback and most likely Justin Jefferson. Maybe even Kirk Cousins comes back. And then you have Green Bay, who is on the come up, and then Chicago just exists. Which even Chicago could be on the come up as well. It's a tough division. I could see Detroit even having the fall.
I disagree though. Like I can
Really?
see Baltimore, but Detroit, they're absolute dogs, and they still have like 40 million in cap space
Do they
after
really?
everything they have, which is
Oh,
amazing. The way they drafted, the way they have built and structured
yeah,
that team, and still have cap to work with to go out and upgrade is amazing. And so I don't think they fall off. I think they're contenders for that first seed. Now Baltimore,
really.
I think Baltimore still wins that division. It's not really too much of a challenge because injuries it does affect that division a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
But I think they take the division and they'll probably hinder around the 3 or 4 seed.
Okay. Well, I'm not as high. I have never. I'm not gonna lie. This is my hot take. Is I've never been like really big on Lamar Jackson. I think he's obviously a great.
Hey,
I wouldn't even
well,
say
you're,
great.
you're talking
See,
about the two-time MVP.
okay, yeah, but okay. I This year's MVP award was kind of a joke in my opinion. It was a joke. It should have gone to McCaffrey, like almost hands down. That dude had a like stellar year and was consistent the whole time. The whole reason why Brock Purdy didn't win MVP was because he wasn't consistent, and also the media had this weird bias against him, calling like this whole game managers thing, which I thought crazy stupid in my opinion. But Lamar didn't have a stellar year, but then you also look at it, the team isn't it wasn't didn't have the best. players around him. I don't even like saying that because it had good players around him, but they weren't like superstars. There were some good players though, and he kind of did carry that team. But I don't know. I'm not huge on Lamar, and I'm not huge on the Ravens. They're kind of like the Chargers, except in the fact that they actually win the regular season instead of just choking everything. They choke in the playoffs. They're not good in the playoffs. Um, I could see them falling quite a bit, like to a 10, like a again 10-7, 9-8's like the fun number, the fun record that kind of fall to. But especially when you were like what, they were like what a 13 win team, something like that, 13
Yeah,
win.
sounds about right.
They're around there, something like that. So I could see them falling a little bit.
Now you did bring up San Francisco a little bit. Do you think
Yeah.
they have a fall? Because I mean,
No,
number one seed,
no.
I think they can drop down. I don't know. As a Cardinals fan, it hurts to say it, but I still think Niners do take the division. So I
Mhm.
do think they'll probably do same thing as Ravens. They'll fall down. Maybe number
I
two
could
for
see
the
that.
Niners, but I don't know. Like I just think they're not going to perform as well, even with Brock Purdy stock just going up. I think they
Yeah.
fall down a little and regress.
I wouldn't be surprised because isn't there's some questions right now about their offense, certain aspects, right? Like recently, as of today, there was like a rumor that they were willing to make big changes, and it sounded like it was personnel, but then everybody in the comments alluded to it being George Kittle, which I personally I know he didn't have a good Super Bowl or anything, but he's more people gotta realize he's not Travis Kelce. He's not just someone who runs routes. Like that dude is a tight end through and through. That dude is a traditional tight end
His
who also happens to
blocking,
be
insane.
yes, exactly. So I don't see it that necessarily. Brandon Ayuk is the interesting one. I don't know what his contract situation is. I know he's a little bit
I believe he's
on
a
like
free
the
agent,
towards the yeah, isn't he toward the tail end of his rookie contract? I'm pretty sure.
something like
But
that.
I know that him particularly Brandon or not Brandon Aubrey, Brandon Ayuk is kind of the question mark there. So if something like that was to happen, I could see them falling. But dude, I mean, even then, you still have like Jawan Jennings. You have these dudes who were like your fourth best wide receiver, and they would probably be a number two on most teams. Jawan Jennings was legitimately going to be Super Bowl MVP last year until the 49ers defense decided to be like, well, we go sleep now. So I can see the San Francisco staying solid. I don't see them dropping too much. I can see them probably not being a one, but I don't see them dropping anything below like a four. So
Brandon
yeah, winning the
Ayuk is
division.
going in on his fourth year of his rookie,
So yeah, this is his last year on his contract
which
then, right?
he is scheduled to make 14 million. So I know there's been some rumors about him getting traded off.
Yeah, I don't I don't know. It's probably that because that team has a lot of good playmakers and there's only so much money that can go around. You're really taking advantage of the fact that Brock Purdy isn't worth, you know, tens of millions, hundreds of million-dollar contract. He's still on his rookie deal, which is, still I believe it's like 800 some a year. So I don't know. I think San Francisco stays very solid this year, but I could actually see San Francisco having a big drop the following year because that's when Brock Purdy's going to have to be starting to talk extension. And if Brock Purdy's not performing as well as I think, that's also when you're thinking about drafting. Like that's a big question mark. I could see the San Francisco fall down coming in a few years. Their window is very quickly, in my opinion, shrinking. Like this was their best chance. Obviously, they're in the Super Bowl, but I don't see them making it back honestly next year. But I do see them still being good.
I don't see them making it back either, to be honest. But it's kind of interesting everything they have going on because they've kind of proven we don't care who's at quarterback. We're gonna
Literally,
ball.
yeah. Hmm.
And so whatever they end up doing within after this 2 year window, like you're saying, I think maybe they do draft someone and maybe they let Purdy walk, or maybe they just finally structure around a quarterback. But this is their
They,
window for success. So they have to
yeah,
really seize the chance while they have Brock Purdy on a rookie deal.
exact. Yeah, and I totally agree because the second you got to start, and I don't. Okay, Brock Purdy, from what you see, seems like a really chill guy, really down to earth, humble guy. I'm not sure if he's exactly like the greediest dude in the world. I don't think he exactly expected to be in this position. I kind of wonder how much he demands. I kind of wonder, like you said, what type of contract structure they give him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a 6 year, $200 million contract. I kind of doubt it because then most of that team has to go away.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised if he takes like more like the maybe like the I remember when Kirk Cousins first signed with the Vikings. That was like the big
What was that? That was
contract.
like a
It was like
35.
it was ended up being like a 4 year 80 something million dollar contract. I would have to look it up exactly, but yeah, it was a big con. It had a big cap
Well,
or a
here's the
big
thing.
payday one of the years.
I think ultimately what it comes down to is can he find success elsewhere? Because if he can find success elsewhere, they're gonna pay him. But if he knows that this is my system, I want to stay here. I want to be with Shanahan and McCaffrey and my weapons. Maybe you
Yeah,
take a pay cut a little bit. Don't go like Mahomey with it, but you go.
that looked a
You
little
maybe go
Mahomey.
like
Yeah,
30 million. 30 million is probably contract
that's
friendly for quarterbacks nowadays.
yeah, and especially because they just raised the cap, correct? So
Yeah, by
it's
30
only gonna be
million.
more now. Yeah, it's still that's a what was it like a 6 to 15% increase somewhere around there. Like there's the quarterback contract's gonna raise with that. The quarterbacks are gonna see that and be like,
And
okay, well the salary cap's more, you can pay me more.
and there's still rumors that Dak's supposed to reset the QB market with
That's
his
so stupid in
extension.
my opinion.
Yeah, Dak
That's so
Prescott does not
stupid.
deserve that kind of money.
I don't, and I actually don't. I'm not as big as a Dak Prescott hater as everybody else. I actually think Dak Prescott in the it's like it is kind of like Tony Romo all over again, regular season QB, you know.
I mean, the
But
grand scheme of things, he is a good quarterback, but you just
yeah,
can't get
I'm not
anything done
not
in the postseason.
yeah. He's not record breaking. He's not but whatever the Mahomes contract is, he's definitely not that. Which if he's supposed
Yeah.
to reset the market, that means you're assuming he's supposed to like break
But
something like
they
that.
are
No,
supposed to restructure Patrick Mahomes' contract this year, so he's probably going to reset the market himself as well.
that's yeah. So I don't know. Kind of going back on Brock Purdy a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he, yeah, like you said, maybe like a 3 year, $90 million contract with a whole lot of guarantees because he's been
And
pretty
bonuses.
solid. So yeah, and bonuses. Yeah, I could see that.
Oh,
I could
and
definitely see
and there's
that.
still ways teams can they can convert players' contracts into like signing bonuses and stuff. There's different
They
workarounds
get
that a lot
creative. They
they
get
really
creative.
do, and so it's
Especially in
really
baseball, dude. The baseball
oh yeah
contracts. I know this is completely random, but especially when you look at Shohei Ohtani's contract, it's
that was
though
stupid.
they get. You don't like that? I think that's funny. I
That
think
it's
that's that.
hilarious, but also in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah,
it's probably
it's
gonna
gonna probably
influence a lot more of that to happen, and it's not gonna
yeah.
look good.
Well, unless the government regulates stuff like that, because I know California wasn't exactly happy that he did it like that. But yeah, I think that's funny. But then you have to pay him at some point, so it really comes when the next decade, like the 2030s, when they're
Yeah,
paying him like the 35 million. He's not even gonna be on the team anymore. He's gonna probably be like maybe retired. I don't know how. He's like in his early 20s
yeah.
still, so
All
probably
that
not.
money to not even win a championship with him is crazy though.
Okay. Bro, I thought it was funny. It's like the Dodgers saw the Diamondbacks make it 1 year and went balls to the wall.
Hey,
They this was their response to Corbin the what's his name? The second
Corbin Carroll.
baseman for the Corbin Carroll. This is the response to Corbin Carroll. Yeah, really off
It
topic,
it
but
was very off topic, but I'm not gonna lie. Dodgers are not gonna win a World Series anytime soon.
they're winning it this
No,
bro, I'm
they're
not gonna
not.
lie. They're probably winning it this year.
Nah.
They're probably gonna win it this year.
Anyways, back to football.
All right. Last thing to cover, and
Hmm.
I think it's they're the most fun talked about teams. The dark horses. Who are your sleeper teams?
Hmm. I don't know. Like I think Jacksonville or the Raiders. I think both of those are sleepers. Because
Jacksonville.
the Raiders proved what they can do with the mediocre quarterback. I think he was actually a rookie this year.
Yeah, he was like a late round pick too.
Yeah, so they proved what they can do. So get someone actually good in there. Maybe a Bo Nix or someone you can sleep on or a Penix,
Bo Nix.
right? But someone you can sleep on and actually build with them. Get someone in there. But Jacksonville, I mean, Trevor Lawrence did struggle with injuries, but he still got a good team around him. And when healthy, I think that is a team that can still compete in the AFC.
Yeah, I actually really like that Jacksonville, but for me it really depends on because Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion, had a pretty not bad, but pretty big setback. He did not play as good as he did the year prior. And it showed. I mean, that team was 8-3 at one point, and down the stretch when Lawrence was truly not playing good, that they lost like everything. They lost their division. They had it guaranteed. You know, you're 8-3. Everybody else in your division's like 4-6 or something like that, like 5-5, and you
But
win one game
he
and
did
you
get hurt.
exactly he did get hurt, and it was kind of like a I don't want to say it like a Baker Mayfield situation because they're not dissing him. They still want him, obviously, but
Yeah.
throwing him out there, kind of let him do what he needs to do. I could. Jacksonville's interesting, that division is only actually surprisingly getting stronger, like very quickly,
It
a lot
really is.
faster than we
It's a
anticipated.
dark horse division.
It is a pretty strong division. You have Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson, who I think is going to have a pretty good year if he can stay healthy. I think,
Indianapolis is another team that could be on the rise
and also a sleeper.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Indianapolis is who I was gonna lean towards with, but especially because this year Gardner Minshew is a good quarterback. Gardner Minshew could definitely start on a few NFL teams. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback, probably a bridge guy, not someone who you want forever, but he obviously proved it. They were genuinely playing for the playoffs.
I
Week
mean,
17
they were
like that.
they were one catch
That's a
away from making
huge
the
turnaround.
playoffs.
They could, yeah, yeah, yeah. If they get that fourth down, yeah, and it was a drop ball. I could, yeah.
Still a tough
Indianapolis is a
catch, but
Yeah, Indianapolis is a pretty good. I think could be a pretty good team next year.
also New
But
Orleans. I think New Orleans is
really,
they are so far in a salary cap debt right now. But I think that's a team that could definitely take that division. That
they're
division's up for
always
grabs.
like ever since Drew Brees left, they've always been kind of like that seven,
Well, they
8 win
but they just
team.
got they have Derek Carr who hopefully is
I know.
healthy. But Derek
Yeah,
Carr when he's healthy is a solid quarterback. He's not the best, but he's a solid quarterback that can give you what you need. In a division like this, all you need is 8 games to make playoffs.
true. Unless, like we said, we expect Atlanta to freaking pop off, but
If they get
more than
Justin
likely
Fields,
not.
Atlanta's taking the division.
At what, 8 wins?
No, I think 9, 10.
He's still the 9 win, yeah, the 9 win division winner.
One day
Yeah.
that division will make double-digit wins. One day.
When was oh well when they had Tom Brady. But even then, that was still a few years ago. That
Yeah.
was like the year that
Wait,
they went to the
wait.
Super
I'm
Bowl,
acting
right?
like the Bucks didn't have 10 wins this year.
They didn't. So good. Keep acting like
Did
that.
they
They didn't have
not?
10
I
wins
thought they
this
had 10
year.
wins.
No. No, they did. They had 9. So keep acting like that.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
keep acting like that. They didn't. No. Um, one team that hasn't been brought up like at all actually, and is again, it's in the NFC West, so very solid division is Seattle, who also could have very well made the playoffs this year and kind of sold. Um, what do you think they do at quarterback? Because they have Geno Smith for only one more year, and then Drew Lock. Do you really want to put Drew Lock in? Like, do you have that much faith in him?
Seattle could be a team that looks for the second round talent. Give them a year
And
under
I'm thinking
Geno
it's Michael
Smith.
Penix, honestly.
I don't know. It is interesting to see what they do. Maybe they're a team that just goes out in free agency just because they already proved that any quarterback can come in and just dominate in the system. Because Geno Smith was kind of nobody until he came back to Seattle. He bounced around
Yeah,
the league but just never fit, and then he just balled out here. And so
yeah,
I
they've
think
had pretty good luck with quarterback recently.
you got a lot of good pieces here in Seattle, and you can obviously compete. I'm not sure what their head coaching deal is, but I think you find a guy, second round, third round, let them sit under Smith for a season, and then let them ride.
All right, here's my closing thoughts for Seattle and all this as a whole is one name that I've seen brought up a little bit that is very intriguing is Spencer Rattler, the
Mm.
South Carolina quarterback. Now, based off of his docu or the Netflix series, I wasn't a huge fan of him, but obviously that was a while ago. But I could see someone like that, like kind of like the mid round pick, the Joe Milton. That one's interesting as well, being a possible stud if they were to get thrown in right away. I think Spencer Rattler is one of the more interesting prospects
I
in a
think
very quarterback heavy class.
I think
He's very
Spencer
interesting.
Rattler is this. he's probably going to be this era's Johnny Manziel. I mean, he doesn't have as much hype around him,
He has
but
like
I
nowhere
think he's
near the
going to
hype.
transition like Johnny Manziel. And so I don't really,
So you're
I don't
just
think
you're
he's
assuming
league
big
ready.
bust.
I don't think he's league ready whatsoever. And so
Uh,
unless you have like the perfect assistant coaches, coordinators around him, just offense that can fit perfectly with them, I think he's a bust, and I just don't think he's gonna work out. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. The Rams could take him, and somehow he can outperform Matthew
oh yeah,
Stafford.
I totally forgot
Some
about the Rams and also having a quarterback. Coming up towards the end of his career.
Yeah, he's still got years left in him. He can ball. But
F it, we bowl.
yeah, but Rattler, I don't see Rattler being anything in this league, if we're being honest.
All right, well, good talk. Rattler's gonna be the MVP this year. Heard it here first. No, I'm just playing.
Yep.
Just playing. I don't know how to do this outro, so
Yeah. And normally
maybe
I
just
just yeah.
literally just cut it off.
All right, well that's gonna be it for the first episode of whatever this is. Let us know down below any topics you would like us to cover, or anything just in general you'd want us to talk about. And be sure to hit that like and sub button. With that being said, we'll see you all on the next one.